This is another episode of Talks with Tyler ISD, a podcast about the passionate people who have a heart for students. This podcast is brought to you by Texas Bank and Trust. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Talks with Tyler ISD. I'm your host, Jennifer Hines, and joining us today is Erin Lamb, who is also our Secondary Teacher of the Year for Tyler ISD. Thank you so much for joining us, Erin.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you, where you went to school, where all you've taught, what your career has been so far.
Sure. I went to Texas A&M University, and I got a major in speech communications and a minor in English. I didn't get my teaching certificate there. I went on and did a post-baccalaureate program at University of Texas at Dallas shortly after graduating from A&M. And I started my career in Dallas Independent School District. I taught for a little bit at Skyline High School in Dallas, and then taught for a few years at Woodrow Wilson High School in Dallas as well. Then my family found ourselves relocating to Seattle for my husband's job.
Oh,
and
wow.
So
Small move.
Yeah, it was a major life change. And so we raised our kids in Seattle, and I taught, I worked for a nonprofit, but I taught for them. I was in the classroom teaching about things that they did to students across Seattle, and then I subbed at my daughter's school, which ended up in a job, and I taught middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade reading at a school in Seattle as well, before I moved back here.
And then you made it back to Texas as fast as you
could. Yes, which made my parents really happy.
And now you're in Tyler, and so you've been at Three Lakes Middle School for how long?
Yes, ma'am. 2 years. This is my second year at Three Lakes.
Wonderful. And you teach English language arts?
I do. I teach 8th grade reading language arts.
Okay, wonderful. Well, tell us, why did you become a teacher? What inspired you? Because I know it's a family business, but you really didn't want to go into the family business right off the bat.
I didn't. So I'm a child of teachers. Both my mom and my dad were teachers. My dad taught high school. My mom taught elementary school. My dad went on to be an insurance agent, but my mom taught all while I was growing up. And so every day after school and in the summers, we were in her classroom, at the teacher store. And so I think because your parents did something, you kind of want to do something different.
Pave your own path.
Yes. And so I was determined to be a journalist. And so that's what I wanted to do. So I worked for the school paper, but the love of writing never left.
Right.
And I had this teacher, my 10th grade high school. Her name was Mrs. Merriman, and she was just phenomenal. And for the first time ever, I felt so smart in her classroom. Like I hadn't felt that way before, but I still didn't want to be a teacher. But something was fostering within me.
She was planting a seed.
She was. And then I had her again my senior year for AP Literature, and just the discussions we had in class really did have a light spark in me that maybe I do want to do this. I loved the reading discussions over a short story we read. She made just learning really come alive. And so I started to seriously consider maybe becoming a teacher. So it was her, Mrs. Merriman, that helped me realize that I wanted to do it and join the family business.
I love that. Well, tell me a little bit about, you talk about seen and unseen rewards.
Yes, at Three Lakes is a wonderful environment. Our principal is just the best I've ever worked for, and I've worked for several principals, and she's the absolute best, and she wants the best for our students, which is such a wonderful environment as a teacher to work for someone that supports not only the students, but she supports us as teachers, wanting our students to thrive and wanting us to thrive. And so one of the things that is seen as our data is really, really good this year and last year. And that's really exciting as a teacher to see my kids grow from a beginning of the year benchmark to a spring benchmark or across the unit assessments, just seeing their academics grow along the trajectory of their reading path. But so much of teaching, and that's seen, but so much of teaching is unseen. And that is what excites me the most. And so those unseen rewards are a kid asking to read one more chapter. Can we just read one more chapter before the bell rings? And this might be a kid that didn't even want to pick up a book. And so that is an unseen reward that means more to me than any data point. You know,
to see them kind of transform and go from kind of being hesitant towards reading to a love for reading.
Yes, and then, or a kid being so excited that they made it to 2 pages when they were typing, when before they could barely type a paragraph, or they thought they could. But I mean, they can do a lot more than they think they can. That's an unseen reward. And then just having my room be a safe place if a kid needs to eat lunch someday, because middle school is so hard. And so just
lots of emotions and bodies going through changes and all the things. Yes. I mean, I have a middle schooler. I absolutely understand. Well, tell us, what is it like a day in your classroom? Describe that for us.
Yes, so I had a lot of students this past year. And at the beginning of the year, I was feeling a little nervous about having
it can be a little overwhelming
for the amount of students, but I treated it like if I had just 30 kids total, and that's kind of what I had in Seattle. I had a really small class, and so I was able to really get to know the kids personally, but I was determined to have that be the same in a bigger class size and bigger size of students that I have across the board. So I really want to know each kid by name by the first week. And so that's like a challenge I give myself. I go home, I study it. I try to create those mnemonic devices that, okay, I can recognize you. You know, and at the end of that first week, I always tell them the last 5 minutes, I'm going to say all your names. And that's just kind of a challenge I give to myself, because when you feel known at the beginning, you feel like, oh, that teacher sees me. She took the time. You're getting that connection. To know my name, you know, because learning is a two-way street. They got to know I care before they even begin to start to care. And so that's important to me, to know their names that first week. And so I did it this year.
And we're talking like over 160 names. I mean, this isn't just 30. It's a lot.
It's a lot, but we have the best kids. They're so good. I've loved my students at 3 Lakes so much.
And you don't just learn their names in the classroom, you also support them outside of the classroom.
I do. I try my best to attend their games, their one-act plays, their musicals, their choir concerts. I try my best to attend at least 1 or 2 games a season for all the sports, because I want them to know that I care more. I care about them academically, but I care about them personally and what inspires them. As a person
and what they enjoy, and they are always so proud to have their teachers at their events.
They are so even excited. In the 8th grade. They want to wave to you from the field.
Oh, I love that. Well, what are 3 things that I guess your students, words that they would use to describe you?
Well, this is what I hope they say. I think they would say that I'm patient. I think being a mom of 2 teenage girls myself, you have to have a large dose of patience in the home, but also I think that translates over into the classroom too, because I do see them beyond the classroom. Middle school, like I said before, is tough. So I do try to have patience. A big thing to me is fairness. And so I never, ever want a student to think I favored another student over them. That is an awful feeling. And even as an adult, that's an awful feeling. So I never, ever want to show favoritism, or I want to treat everybody like the wonderful human being that they are. So fairness, and then I try my best to be kind, to see them as human beings and not just my students, that I try to treat them with dignity and respect that I require them to treat me. I want to show that to them as well.
I think they probably, maybe for your 3rd, would say that you're encouraging.
I hope so. I try to be. Yes.
Well, tell me a little bit. You've got a couple of quotes. Fred Rogers is one of them. Tell us about some of these quotes that you just they're kind of your motto and how you do things.
Well, I love Mr. Rogers so much, and I just love who he was as just a faith leader and just a human being. And so I like his quote that says, "A love of learning has to be learned by being loved." And so I like that because it kind of sets the whole environment of my classroom, that a kid is not going to love to learn unless they really feel loved and valued. And often that starts at home, but that carries over into the classroom too. So I definitely want all of my students to feel loved so they're able to love learning, which
Absolutely.
is what
that's
we're
which is
paid to do, right?
That's the whole goal. Well, and you had mentioned earlier the importance of being seen, and Brene Brown is another one of your favorite quotes of never underestimate the power of being seen.
Oh, I love Brene Brown. Yes, it is a power. That is a power. Once you're seen, you can do anything.
And
really.
Tell me a little bit about your life motto of philosopher St. Augustine.
Yes, I was in this rhetoric class at A&M, and it was a class that I had to take, and I dreaded it so much because it sounded so hard. But I ended up loving that class, and specifically the philosopher St. Augustine. And so he had a quote in there, and I'm going to see if I remember it. This is what love looks like. It has the hands to help others, it has the feet to hasten to the poor and needy, and it has the eyes to see misery and want. And when I read that, even as a college student, I was like, that is what I want my life to look like.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you put it in the context of teaching, I'm not talking about the financially poor, but I'm talking about the poor in spirit. And in middle school, there's lots of kids that feel downcast and poor in spirit. So I really try to just be the embodiment of that quote, that I want to be quick to see those that might need an extra word of encouragement, that might need an extra push, you know, because ultimately I'm here to help others. And so I'm not in it for myself, you know. Teaching's not, you're not in it for yourself at all.
It's not just about teaching the content and the curriculum, it's about also appealing to their emotional side and making sure that is supported as well. And that makes them feel seen and safe and more wanting to learn and willing to learn. I think that's one of the most fabulous things that I can hear about what you're trying to do in a classroom, especially when you're talking about middle school years and how, you know, hormones are all over the place and every day can be different and all of that. Tell us a little bit, though, because it truly is, it takes a village, and that means, you know, parents also got to be a part of the educational process. What would you say to parents in terms of like what they should be doing to participate in their child's education?
I love that you asked this question, because I think as parents, myself included, I was really involved in my girls' elementary school years, because you got that newsletter, you knew what was happening, you knew when to send Valentines, you knew all the things, and you know that oftentimes the child only has one teacher. Right. So you had that one like communication point.
That one contact,
Right. But when you get to middle school, you have 7, 8 teachers, including electives and coaches and all those things that I know as a parent, I started to be a little bit more hands off, and I think that's just natural. But one thing that parents can do is send encouraging emails. A kind word goes a really long way. And I had this student last year, and her mom was a teacher in Tyler ISD, and I got this random email like on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. that said, "Hey, Miss Lamb, this is so-and-so. I just want you to know that you're doing a good job." That, as she said, the student's name, comes home and talks about having a love for reading. And I have to tell you, I read that like 3 or 4 times, because
I know
that is really rare to get a positive email just because email. And so ever since then, I've tried to do that for my own kids, even though I'm not
great advice.
Involved as much at all, really, as I was in elementary, but at least I can send, like, you know, Lily loves your class, or Lily feels,
just so you know, this is her favorite class, or you're her favorite teacher, or because if you think about it, I mean, most parent emails are either about grades for kids, or it might have a negative spin on it, or an issue with something going on in the classroom, or, you know, just some parents can be mean. I mean, let's just be honest. So it would be, I think that's a great idea and great advice for those out there, because sometimes as parents, I mean, I've got a middle schooler. I also got an elementary and a high schooler. That, you just kind of forget.
You do.
Because when you spread out, I think we've got over 20 teachers among my 3 kids. It's like, you know what? Maybe I should go just send a quick note, because I do know which teachers my daughters come home and talk to me about, or things that they've done or said, or that sort of thing.
It's completely free to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
So one of the reasons you're on the podcast is you're the secondary teacher of the year for the district, and that means you're now going to go on to compete at the regional level. Tell us a little bit about what that has looked like for the process.
So it is a series of essay questions. So I'm in the middle of filling that out now. I think it's due at the end of June. And so I am filling that out, and that good questions are asked. A lot of the same ones that you asked here. Words to describe me, what does my classroom look like? And so it's been a really fun process. I thought the Tyler ISD process was so good for me as a professional to be asked some of those questions, because it does make you think, why do you teach?
Why do I do this?
Yes.
Why am I this way? Or how do I do this?
I even told the interview panel that I really appreciated the questions and the thoughtfulness of what types of questions were being asked.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm in the middle of doing that all again for Region 7.
Well, we wish you the best of luck at the next level. Is
Thank
there
you so
anything
much.
that you would like to share that you haven't shared about yourself? Or
I just wanted to say how wonderful Tyler ISD is. I came across it as a parent first when we when we moved here. I was looking for a school for my daughter, and I looked all around, and I just felt like Tyler was the most professional. I met the kindest people. I was so impressed with my own interview process with Tyler that it is truly just a special place, and one I'm so thankful that my own daughter is in. So I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful for 3 Lakes, and I'm thankful that I have an opportunity with you. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Erin Lamb, again, our secondary district teacher of the year, joining us today. And thank you for checking out this latest podcast of Talks with Tyler ISD. We hope you share this with a friend and check out our other Talks with Tyler ISD podcasts. Remember, you can also find out about all things Tyler ISD by signing up for our district newsletter at get.tylerisd.news.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Texas Bank and Trust. Subscribe to Talks with Tyler ISD on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Please share this episode with your friends and family.